It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hi. Welcome to a Friday. Hold it. What? Let me do the waltz hop. Hi.
I'm not doing that.
Hi.
I'm not
spinning
doing that.
around in my chair here with my hands in the air like Richard Simmons.
You're doing the chair version.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah.
Hi. You're weird. Hi.
Yeah. It is so weird.
You're
Seriously.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
What a fun week it was, huh?
Oh, man, it was fun.
Did they drop? Did she talk about that inflation is due to corporate gouging yesterday?
I'd have to go back and look
Okay,
at the
I don't remember.
transcript.
I don't remember if she said it. I don't remember her saying it.
Yeah.
Because my question would be, have they dropped that already? Because that was universally that was universally attacked when she came out with the price controls because of gouging.
Yeah. Yeah, the liberal media, they were like, hold on a second. Yeah, that man is a woman, but price gouging? You're delusional. Price controls? Are you insane?
This is the media.
The
talking.
liberal media.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
A man can be a woman if the man says so, but price controls, come on.
Yeah. What's wrong with you? Price controls.
That thought popped into my mind because you had said that, what was it on the price controls? Oh, I forgot what you said now. Oh, man. Oh, I can't remember it.
Yeah, we'll
drive me crazy.
we'll remember. It'll come to us in just a minute.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It was something that you had what you had said was this is like the beginning. You put together an exploratory committee to run for president. That's what the
entire campaign,
right?
basically.
The entire campaign over the last month, but really you've seen it during the convention.
Yeah.
And the lead up to the convention where they don't know where they stand on any issue.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you have, she's not anti-fracking. Never mentioned it in the convention from what I know at all. She never mentioned fracking in the speech at all.
Right.
And so she's trying, I believe, to have people believe. Remember, they say she's a hope and change candidate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you do is you take a different position on each issue, or you put it out there. You yourself have stated certain things, then your surrogates state other things, which you always have plausible deniability.
Right.
But your surrogates can continue to promote you believe one thing and you promote another thing, and you still have plausible deniability because you've never said the opposite of what you believe, only your surrogates have.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is like the beginning of you're trying to test yourself in an exploratory committee a year and a half out before the election, and you're getting ready for the primaries of your own party. And I thought that was a keen observation that you had, that this campaign is like the beginning of a campaign where they're trying to figure out what they can sell. Well, initially in a primary, it's what you can sell to your party.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's in the general election where the exploratory committee is going on right now. Where are we going to stand on the issues?
Yeah, this would have been, if you were going to do this on the calendar, basically this is where anyone considering running would form this exploratory committee, probably in this case, late 21, early 22, somewhere in there. And then as you float items, you listen for that feedback. You wait for that feedback to come back. And it's like if it's like a tsunami, and it comes back and the wave is even bigger on the backlash, then it's like, okay, you're not going to do that. You go out and you talk things. Trump did this in I think it was early 2015. He was on Letterman. I have to go back and look at the timeline. He was on Letterman and talked about basically the idea of single-payer system. He was just floating it. You could tell. Oh, we have to maybe revisit that. Let's take a look at that again. And that's, again, floating that idea. Now, keep in mind, he had kind of floated a number of ideas for decades, but in serious consideration, it was 2011, leading up to 2012, and ultimately he didn't jump in 2011. And then it was more serious because he actually was able to get the trademark on Make America Great Again. He got that, according to court records, someone reported that happening the day after the election in 2012. And so if you look at how they work, that's basically it. And they have clearly been, the Harris campaign, in exploratory committee mode. Float some ideas. You don't have her say it directly. Probably a big part of the reason why you don't talk to anyone, we've got to float these ideas, even if it comes from somebody in the campaign. If it's not you, we can come back and deny or change directions. So wait for us to float all these things before you sit down, because we have to know where what's working and what is. And so that's where they are, and this is where you would be typically where you would be a couple of years ahead.
I already saw it last night. It was I don't even know who the reporter was talking to, because I saw it on social media, talking to one of the surrogates of the Harris campaign, and said, look, he said, well, look, she's not an ideologue.
Right.
And it's like, well, of course she is. In 2019, she said she's anti-fracking. She said, no. She's doesn't hold the position. She said she's not anti-fracking. Mm-hmm. And the reporter didn't say, no, she didn't. An unnamed surrogate said that.
Right.
She didn't herself. But if you're taking that position either way, you're still an ideologue. Mm-hmm. They're trying to say she doesn't have any positions, but she has this great vision, which makes her more palatable. Think about that. Mm-hmm. The more ignorant, we talk about ignorance is bliss for the voting public. I really don't know what's going on. I'm really undecided as to what to do here. I really don't know anything about the issues. Mm-hmm. Well, you know something? I'm really better than you because I'm not caught up in the politics of today. And therefore, since I don't care, that's my virtue signaling. Yeah. I'm better than you. Now, the Democrats are promoting that a candidate that holds no positions on any issues is not an ideologue, but they have a vibe and a generalized vision, and that's why you should vote for them.
Yeah.
They think you're an idiot. There's no other way you can look at it. There's no other way.
Right.
The other thing I thought was fascinating that came from this convention, and I saw when I read this article here, I went, oh, there it is. When we had talked briefly about it the other day, Van Jones suggests Republicans have a cheaper patriotism than Democrats' muscular devotion. You ready for the explanation here?
Okay.
I know. I can see your interest.
Okay, yeah.
CNN commentator Van Jones seemingly suggested Wednesday that Republicans have a cheaper patriotism while Democrats have a deeper and more muscular devotion to their country. I feel like there's a distinction between what I could call a cheaper patriotism and a deeper patriotism. This is a deeper patriotism here. It's not just the rah-rah stuff, Jones said on CNN, reacting to night 3 of the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, which was Freedom Night, which is where Josh Shapiro was yelling, it's not freedom to tell children what books to read. And then we added on to that, if you're just tuning in right now, we added that to show how idiotic and insane that is and what a sexual pervert he is by promoting the fact, because that's what he's promoting, that children should be able to read pornography and sexually explicit materials. That's what that means. We all know it. It came from the whole Disney thing. So the sexual pervert Josh Shapiro is promoting that, but trying to promote it using freedom on Wednesday that was Freedom Night. That's how insane the Democrats are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what did Van Jones mean here? It's not the rah-rah stuff. They are asserting that the value of freedom is not just the freedom to not pay your taxes or the freedom to say, get off my lawn. It's the freedom to live a full life. And to be able to live a full life, we need each other. We need a smart government. What the hell does that mean? I know what it means.
Huh?
I know what it means.
What?
It is more patriotic to put the debt of what we want now on future generations, to cause massive debt, to have massive printing of money so we can buy our own debt, so we can keep borrowing more from future generations to pay for what we are now. That's the new American patriotism for the left, because that's what it means. That's what they were talking about. Government providing much more, and federal government providing much more money to you is actually what freedom is. Who has to pay for it, and the burden we put on future generations is a patriotic thing, according to Van Jones.
Right.
Now, of course, I don't know any Republican. You know any mainstream Republican saying that when we talk freedom, it's the freedom not to pay your taxes?
No. No. No.
No. I'm trying to think of the one actor out there. Remember the one actor that went to jail? I can't think of his name. Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
Wesley Snipes
Right.
may believe that, but
Well,
Hunter Biden might believe that.
well, and wasn't there something with Pritzker avoiding paying taxes or something?
Yeah.
On it? They were, but this is, and he's not. You know, you look at what's his name, the former Treasury Secretary under Obama.
Oh, yeah.
But
and Al Sharpton too, right?
did he have a tax debt thing? Yeah, I think he did. Yeah.
I still think there's taxes he hasn't paid.
Right.
Or maybe
we want to lower taxes,
yes.
but I pay what I owe, and I believe everyone should.
But this is the bizarre thing. That was the freedom that they were selling. The freedom is from Democrats. Because when you break it down, it's like, well, what are you talking about? The freedom to live your life and to be able to live a full life. We need each other, and we need a smart government. Well, what does that mean? I don't understand. What does that mean? What does that have to do with my freedom? My freedom is freedom of speech,
Right.
that you're against.
Right.
My freedom is freedom of religion that you're against.
Right.
My freedom is the Second Amendment that you're against. So what is freedom? Oh, freedom is government providing more to people so they can live a full life, which means borrowing more from future generations to pay for the selfishness of what we want today. That's freedom to Democrats. Please, any Democrat, tell me where I'm wrong. Because what in the hell were they talking about then? What does that mean? We need each other.
Right. Right.
That may be cooperation. That's not freedom.
Yeah. But it's right out of the left's playbook to redefine words.
Exactly. Everything is redefined.
You know, you have to go in and change everything. There was, I don't know if you saw it on a poster somewhere, but someone trying to make the point that the red, white, and blue colors were about, but there were no American flags at the convention. Actually, on Thursday night, there were a ton of American flags, and I thought when I saw that, the delegates waving them, and then when Kamala Harris was on stage, there were two large American flags, one on each side behind her, and I thought to myself, okay, all right, they're trying a little too hard. Because what do? If the cake is really horrible, man, you got to lay down the icing. And then make the cake look good through the decorations on the cake, the outside of it. It's horrible cake. There may be nothing on the inside that's edible. But, man, you got to make it look good.
For some of you who might think it is out of line for me to call Governor Shapiro a sexual pervert based on what he said about freedom, if you haven't heard the audio cut, here it is.
It's not freedom to tell our children what books they're allowed to read.
Now, what's that all about? That's about the whole Disney thing, about age-appropriate material for children. And that's why we mocked it by saying, okay, let's carry it further. We can carry that further just to show you how insane that is. But that's the sexual perversion of the Democrats who want children to be reading pornography.
Yep.
To the point, just to make the case that we're not talking over the top here, that, oh, you guys are exaggerating it. We have played you many of the audio cuts of school board meetings where the school board will not allow the parents to read the book that is in the library because they view it as pornographic, too crude and pornographic for adults.
Yep.
That's the kind of sexual perversion that's now mainstream in the Democratic Party because, hey, Josh Shapiro was the moderate.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah, let's stop that completely. He's not a moderate.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
When it comes to the production and domestic availability of eggs,
we are again looking at very tight supplies
and very high prices brought on by the loss of millions of laying hens due to avian influenza. USDA livestock analyst Shale Shagam says table egg production July of 2023 last year, 640 million dozen. This past July, down to 630 million, sending wholesale prices through the roof. However, Shagam expects things to settle down a bit in the egg market.
We're looking at table egg production for 2024 to be very, very close to the table egg production in 2023 at about 7.9 billion dozen. And then next year we'll see gradual increases reaching about 8.2 billion dozen in 2025.
And with more production,
we would expect to see egg prices decline.
But he says that's if we have no more bird flu outbreaks, and that's a big if. Gary Crawford for the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm sorry. I have failed everyone. I have failed.
What?
I have failed to understand where the Democrats were going there. I completely failed to understand the entire freedom thing.
Okay. Yeah.
They've simply redefined the word of freedom. Freedom means free stuff. The free in freedom is freedom. Because when they were talking about we need to be free, which means our lives need to be taken care of. We can only be truly free if we have free college, free health care, free food, free housing, free everything. Then you have freedom because freedom to them is stuff coming to them for free.
Oh.
Yeah. That's when they had Freedom Night. It wasn't about the things that you and I talk about, the Bill of Rights. I finally figured out what they were talking about. It's about free stuff.
It's not for Democrats. Okay, I get it. Because I was on with freedom thinking of Democrats. I was thinking more about the dumb than I was the free.
No, but as you said, you said it the other day. They've reversed Kennedy.
Yeah. No, Obama started all that.
Yeah.
Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. That was
right.
John F. Kennedy. Well, with Obama,
and now
ask not what you can do for your country, ask or demand what your country should be doing for you.
Right,
and they
that's
continue
freedom.
that on. Yeah.
Freedom to Democrats is free stuff that somebody else pays for.
Free.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Sorry for the big duh in the last half hour.
Yeah, well, look, we said it the other day. Sometimes it takes us a minute to come around,
To figure out the left.
Well, because, you had Tim Walz go after J.D. Vance for going to Yale. And then we realized after, tearing it apart, we were like, because J.D. Vance is a conservative.
Right.
How dare you as a conservative
go to
attend
Yale? Yes, because we couldn't figure out.
Yeah.
So you keep pounding the fact that he grew up poor and went to Yale.
Yeah.
And that's a negative. And we couldn't figure out how. And then you did. You figured out, because only liberals were supposed to go to Yale. So it was more of an insult than a criticism of him.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So,
but on the entire, Freedom Wednesday, we just finally figured it out. It was like, wait a minute. They're talking about freedom is spending more money and going into more massive debt. That's freedom. And we went, oh, wait a minute. Oh, their definition of freedom. They've changed the definition of freedom. Freedom to them means give free stuff to people. If I get free stuff, I have freedom, because that's what freedom is. Freedom is free stuff. Okay, we got that settled.
Yeah.
All right, now I look at this as the audio cut of the week.
All right.
And I do. I should have asked you. I made the assumption.
Okay. Right.
But I think you may agree with me on this.
Okay.
Because it sort of wraps up the entire week. It's not anything that was said by anybody at the convention.
Okay.
Actually, it is, because I talked to the delegates. We played the audio cut before, and it's about now the culture and the collusion of the media to say that, she doesn't have to present any policy plans. It's not about policy. The American voter doesn't care about policy. She doesn't need to do any interviews, because the American public really doesn't need the minutia of it. And if they get if she gets it wrong, evil Trump can use it against her. And you're like, guys, stop making that kind of stuff up. That's not what's happening with Democrats in the media. Are you ready?
Okay.
All right. Our audio cut of the day. This comes from CNN.
All right.
Question is, and you hear the criticism, she has to do more interviews, she has to talk about policy. Interesting from insiders you're speaking to, they're sort of like, no, absolutely not. Haven't needed to do it so far. Yeah. Why start now?
And that's exactly it. They're concerned about her doing that could potentially trip her up and give Trump some ammunition. In fact, a lot of those Democrats I spoke to today said avoid those policy prescriptions.
I haven't heard from many voters looking for white papers and policy papers. What they want to hear is what her vision is for this country.
The American people don't vote on policy prescriptions.
I actually think the way the American people think about this choice is less about the minutia of policy and more about the direction of the country, number one. And secondly, about the person. Character, it does matter.
And Jerry Connolly, the congressman from Virginia there, I asked him more about this. He said, remember what Elizabeth Warren did when she ran back in 2020? She had a white paper for every policy position under the sun. And what happened? She collapsed in the primary. So there's a belief that perhaps you put more ideas on paper, that's a bad idea. But the question is, voters want to see some of those ideas.
Right.
Maybe, but if you go with the vibes, it's a vibes election.
Right.
It's all vibes.
That's the media green. That's them agreeing. It's a vibes election. That's what you go with. Are the is 2028 going to be, this is our candidate, there's no convention, there's nothing? The candidate says nothing. It's just, here's their name.
Back in the day.
There's nothing.
Back in the day when a few people watched award shows, and then there would be a winner that wouldn't be there. They're like for the Oscars, they're not able to be there because they were on location or whatever, right? And it would be this. It'd be Marlon Brando couldn't be here tonight. Accepting for Marlon Brando is Anthony Hopkins or whatever. I halfway expect it because she hasn't been there all week. Thursday night. Kamala Harris couldn't be here tonight. She was busy at a rally somewhere accepting the nomination for Kamala is pink. It's because it doesn't matter. And then the crowd would have gone wild. Why would they go wild? I don't know. Why did they go wild last night?
Because they know how bad Harris is, and they don't want her to speak on anything because they all know how crappy she is. And
she doesn't have to be there.
Right.
It didn't matter.
Well, look at this here. Maybe that was the original plan. Maybe the plan originally was not for her not to be there.
Right.
Because remember they said there was going to be a special guest? Listen again to CNN.
Okay.
Here we go. This was a report on this.
Talk in anticipation here and elsewhere that there may be a special guest. I am told by Democrats that Kamala Harris was their guest.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they were going to have somebody fill in for him. At the last minute, they said, no, we got to actually have the actual candidate at least give a teleprompter speech.
They built it up all week to the, yeah, she's not coming yet. Because, in fact, they even teased it a little bit when Oprah walked out the other night. I guarantee you, half of the minds, maybe they didn't say it out loud, but half of the minds in that room when Oprah walked on the stage, it was a surprise appearance. They were like, oh, my gosh, she's going to run. Kamala's getting out, and Oprah's running. Oprah is running. That was going through half of the minds in that room right there. And so all week long, they built this. All of a sudden, it's like, well, she's probably not coming. She's not. We know it's Thursday. She's supposed to be here. She's not coming. Oh, look. Kamala's her own surprise guest.
A couple of things that Trump did that was great this week. Number one, bringing Tulsi Gabbard aboard for advice on debating, which is really good, and using Ramaswamy as one of his surrogates to actually promote the Republican and Trump agenda in Chicago. Here's another example of what he did over the weekend. He's really good. I mean, he's really good. He was all over the place. He was talking, when he was talking to the Marxist, like, oh, this is going to blow up, and it didn't. He had a conversation with him. It was great.
Yeah.
But here he is again.
Good to be back in Chicago. I came here about a little over a year ago when I visited the south side of Chicago. See several friends from that who we made are with us today, and they weren't supporting Republicans or Trump back then, but many of them are right now, and I'll tell you why. When I visited here back then, a lot of people in this community, in this city alone, asked themselves, why are they converting places like South Shore High School into an encampment for illegal migrants at a cost of $7,000 per migrant per month, when we're sitting right here following the law as law-abiding citizens of this country ourselves? And I think that is the backdrop for this debate around the immigration policy and future border policies of the United States. It was interesting to come back to Chicago in the middle of this convention, and I'm glad, actually, I'm grateful that Democrats appear to now agree with Donald Trump's policy of building the wall. If only they cared as much about keeping illegals out of our country as they do keeping their own left-wing protesters out of their own convention, our border crisis would actually be behind us.
Which is true. I mean, we said that. I mean, that had been said, but it was good that he, as the surrogate of Donald Trump, was saying that in Chicago. And I bet you that was probably carried by local media.
Oh, yeah.
Some of that probably was.
I hope it was, but I bet you're right. I'm guessing it. I would love to. In fact, I'll here in a minute look that up and see if there was any local coverage of him being there. You would have to cover it locally.
Well, today we'll see whether RFK Jr. endorses Donald Trump. I've seen two different polls. One said that without any undecided, it's 70-30 Trump. That would be how it would split.
That's how RFK Jr.'s base would go.
Right, 70-30. Another one with undecided said 47 for Trump, 27 for Harris, with the rest undecided. So let's go to Jake in Portland about an RFK endorsement. Portland, Oregon. Jake, welcome. You're on Red Eye Radio. Hi.
Hey, thanks so much. The Robert F. Kennedy thing could be very interesting in the fact that you make that announcement. Let's assume that he throws his support behind President Trump. That's going to pull a lot of air out of a Kamala sail. Not that there's a lot of air in there anyway. And I think he could dampen her campaign and enlighten Trump's. And I'd like to make a point about what you guys mentioned about sincerity. I did some little research on Robert F. Kennedy Sr., and if you look back at his campaign in 1968, and I'm not a big Kennedy fan at all, but there was a lot of sincerity in the way that he was going to try and run the country, before he got assassinated. And it kind of, in my mind, transfers a bit to Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
All right. That's the one thing certainly that people want. They want to know that you actually believe what you believe, and then they decide, okay, whether I disagree. Because what the left has become now, what the Democratic Party has become is, we can't even tell you what we believe. And the surrogates, the leftist media, and thanks for the call, Jake, are basically saying last night, no, she shouldn't put her platform out there. She doesn't need to put her platform out there. Her agenda, no. She doesn't need to talk to the media. In other words, you can't say what you believe. Well, that's the opposite of sincere.
That statement, the sincere statement, actually came from Nicole Shanahan, who was the running mate of RFK Jr., but the sincerity was actually targeted towards Trump.
Right. She said
that Trump is the sincere one, right?
Well, she was basically making the point, paraphrasing that, because the question inevitably was going to be, well, how do you go from doing this to endorsing Trump? And she's a liberal Democrat. And she says, look, we may disagree with some of the things he's done, but he's sincere. I believe he's sincere. And she really emphasized that point. And that's something we're seeing from other liberals. They're looking at it going, look at what they've done to this guy. And, yeah, he does some things I don't agree with. He says some things I don't agree with. But if that sincerity comes through to them, changing hearts and minds there, then what effect does it have on independence? And we'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a boost to his campaign because, the other thing they talked about is it could be possibly 2 points more in Trump's favor if it breaks down in either of those ways.
That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
It would be a huge deal. I still think that my gut tells me, and it's a gut feeling, and again, gut isn't fact in any way, but my gut feeling is the Rasmussen polling is more accurate, and it showed Trump up by 3. Remember, he was up by 4 against, but that's all in the margin of error against Biden at that point. And Biden was a horrible candidate at that particular point. She's not a great candidate at all. We all know this because we all know that 5 weeks ago, everyone hated her, including the vast majority of Democrats.
Right.
So everything you see here is a fake. Everything you saw this week is a fake show.
Right. Oh, yeah.
They don't really believe it.
Right.
There are Republicans that may disagree with Trump, but Republicans overall agree on probably roughly 80 to 90% of the things that Trump believes as to what the Democrats wish to avoid, which is the minutia of how you're going to solve the problems. Because when they say, well, we're more concerned with the direction of the country and not the minutia of how to solve it, it's the most asinine thing that Representative Connolly could ever say.
Right.
What do you mean? Because the only way you change the direction of the country is what the minutia of the policy actually will do if implemented by Congress. Nothing else matters.
Everybody's asking, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? We don't need to tell you what we're going to do.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, look, for next week's shows, because apparently the Democrats have discovered that America wishes to go into a different direction. Next week, we're not going to discuss any issues on the show. It's going to be Vibe Week. We're going to
Yep.
talk about our
Yep.
vibe and your vibe.
Right.
And see whether we can come to a consensus on a vibe.
Yeah. It's all about the vibe.
It's all about the vibe. We're not going to get, you don't want to hear, you don't care. You just wish to hear our vision. You don't want to hear what we have to say on the issues.
Our vision is the vibe.
Our vision is the vibe.
The vibe is the vision, and the vision is the vibe.
It's a generalized vision of freedom, which is giving free stuff to everyone.
Now, program directors at legendary stations across America are waking up just now, tune in Eric and Gary and say, we need to have those guys tested. There's something going on in that overnight show.
Drug test them now.
Yeah.
Have a great weekend.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.